So this episode of MASH, which was technically not the pilot, but really the first episode of the regular series MASH in 1972, got heavy ratings in Canada and basically sold the show in a way that cannot be underestimated. Even though some of the major players were not in it, including the director was Michael O'Herlihy, written by Bert Stoddard before members of the cast were directors and writers, and Larry Gerlbart and everybody else was involved. This was a really, really funny episode, and it holds up because there's a lot of plots going on in this one. It's called To Market to Market. This is the second episode of MASH. First aired on September 24th, 72, and repeated on April 29th, 73. Like many other MASH episodes, this one parodies army bureaucracy. Thieves and black marketeers hold up a truck of medical supplies for the 407, thus rendering them in desperate need of the essential drug hydrocortisone. In retaliation, Hawkeye and Trapper meet with a notorious black marketeer, hoping to get some replacements. When they realize they have nothing reasonable to trade with him, they go to drastic measures to get what they need. Now, while operating on a general, Hawkeye discovers that the hospital is out of hydrocortisone. He and Trapper learn that it's been stolen by black marketeers, along with half of the other medical supplies and an entire replacement shipment. When they go to Henry's office to complain, they find him showing off a newly acquired 100-year-old oak desk, and the running gag is, you'll never guess what type of wood this is oak, and he says oak. Henry is too nervous to call General Hammond in a recurrent role and demand action, so Hawkeye makes the call for him. However, Hammond refuses Henry's request for a fresh shipment. Now, Radar, who's playing kind of the worldwide version, not the naive version, puts the doctors in touch with a black marketeer. His name is Charlie Lee, no confusion with the Montreal Expos player. Charlie Lee asks $10,000 for it, for a load of hydrocortisone he has in stock, which would be, several $100,000 now. The price is too high for Hawkeye and Trapper, so they offer to trade for Henry's desk. I don't think the desk is worth $10,000, even though it was beautiful. Charlie later visits the 477 dressed as a South Korean general in order to examine the desk. He agrees to the trade on the condition that the desk must be ready to load onto a truck early the next morning. If it is not, he will sell the hydrocortisone to another buyer. Now, the supporting characters in this are quite strong, with Jack Sue, of course, the great comedic star, Charlie Lee, the Canadian Robert Ito of Quincy fame as Lynn, who has the best line of the whole episode, G. Wood as the recurrent Brigadier General Hammond, and of course Odessa Cleveland, and Luminous as Ginger. Now, Radar again wakes Hawkeye and Trapper an hour ahead of the pickup so he can sneak into Henry's office and get the desk. Hearing the noises of her attempt to move it, Frank and Margaret separately approach the office to investigate. Upon finding one another, they rendezvous in the supply tent and lock the office door, leaving Hawkeye and Trapper with no way out. As Radar tries to persuade Charlie's truck driver to wait, the doctors take down one wall of the office and carry the desk out. Now, the Robert Ito character had met up with Frank Burns earlier trying to sell him a watch, and when he says, the Robert Ito's character, we're looking at plum sauce or duck sauce. He said, I'd like to take a look at your legs. He said, one of those, eh? Before they can get it on the truck, however, Frank recognizes the driver from Charlie's previous visit and orders him off the base. With the truck now gone, Hawkeye tells Radar to call in Chopper Pilot, who airlifts the desk out of the office and flies away to deliver it to Charlie as the stunned Henry watches from the ground. Charlie, now dressed as a private, delivers the hydrocortisone as promised. Henry becomes suspicious, recognizes him as a visiting general, but Charlie only says, you know what it is, Colonel. We all look alike. Now, why this episode really work, and the early episodes of MASH were quite strong. Of course, the next one was the infamous Requiem for a Lightweight, where the Wayne Rogers character, Trapper John, has to fight to keep a woman in camp. Now, the reason why this works, and it's quite interesting how Jack Sue takes it over, because he's playing off the kind of the ad-libs of Wayne Rogers and Alan Alda as to, the doctors in there. But when he shows them the show, the demonstrator, it's quite funny, because the park outside the building where they come out the cars is totally stripped. This is almost like the best of New York car grifters back in the 1960s and 70s. Now, why this really works, I think it was a very underrated episode from a writing perspective. Bert Styler, who did a lot of popular TV shows, including Life of Riley, My Favorite Martian, Mayberry RFD, Gilligan's Island, Bacon Hills Navy, Chico and the Man, Carol Burnett and Too Close for Comfort, was a very, very strong thespian. He was also an Emmy winner because he won a Primetime Emmy Award in '72 for writing the episode Edith's Problem. Now, he also wrote for Bob Hope called Boy Did It Get the Wrong Number. Why Styler works here is because it's kind of an old-fashioned, let's say, like vaudeville play, where you know what's going to happen because we established three things here. Hawkeye and Trapper are grifters, Radar's an accomplice. Henry Blake is lovable but can be manipulated. I thought the Jack Sue character would be a recurring character. He comes back as another character later on, but it would have been nice to have him. But Jack Sue was very well known for his comedy work, and to see a young Robert Ito, I think it was one of his first early performances, and one of the few actors from Vancouver. He just turned 93, by the way, this summer. One of the first Canadian actors to do quite well. Now he had got a major start through the years on Mannix, and also on Kung Fu. He played a character, but he played Sam Fujiyama for 147 episodes of Quincy, and he was also on the Rambo series, The Force of Freedom, the comic, the animated show, and also played a very strong character as the kind of the instructor in coming of age from Star Trek, The Next Generation. And he did play Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid animated show as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, one of the better voice actors and character actors in Canadian history, did a lot of the, what do you call DC and Marvel characters. So you got all these great Oriental Chinese Canadian or different characters, and I'm glad to see Robert Ito and Jack Sue together in an episode. They should have had their own series together, like an investigative group, like a comedy investigative show. But in the midst of the Vietnam War, to see two Oriental actors, or to be well portrayed, one is basically just an Oriental version of Trapper John and Hawkeye, and the Ito character, doing like scheming was a big part of the early episodes of MASH, because you had the foil in Hot Lips and Frank. And eventually we see that Hot Lips is more with Frank for the sexual pleasure, because in the first episode, of course, when she's giving him the shot, she recognizes Frank. We don't really know if it's because of his butt or something else. So, but it's a very, very interesting episode. So to market the market's probably a top 5 episode of the first season. If you like what you're doing here with our MASH podcast, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.